one. We are live, Yang Gang. It is us, Melanated Council of Yang. We have special guests with us, Yenni Desroches, City Council candidate for Worcester District 5.
Yep, Worcester District 5, Worcester, Mass.
Yes.
Worcester.
She's in
May
the
the
building.
4th be with you.
We got that down there. Bam! May the 4th. And if you don't know what that is, I'm gonna need y'all to go back to like the 1970s and watch all them Star Wars movies up until now. So yeah.
Yep. Disney Plus actually has like the old Ewoks cartoon on it, and I would.
What?
Oh wow.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check that one out. I'm gonna have to check that one out. Oh, I'm gonna check that one out. I love it. 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 So while we're thinking about everything and all this other stuff and what's going on, like Yenni, my dear.
Yes.
Welcome.
It is good to be on here.
Welcome. And so we just want to kind of just hear about you, hear about what's going on in your city, what you're trying to do, your visions, your plans, and who do we got to knock out, who we got to take out, we got to take them into the dark alley, but
hopefully no dark alleys, but
hey, I'm the gambler, so we do what we got to do.
I'm done.
Well, so I'm running for Worcester City Council. Our city council is made up of 5 districts. So there's 5 district seats and 5 at-large seats, and then our mayor is the tiebreaker because that makes it 10. And the race, my signatures are due on the 11th. I had some awesome Yang Gang help. People drove in from all over the place to help me get my signatures in. So I think we might have enough, but I'll see once I turn them in. And then on September 14th is the preliminary election. And I say preliminary, not primary, because it's a nonpartisan seat. So we have a kind of a winnowing where we're going to go from the whole amount of candidates that get through onto the ballot down to 2 for the general election. So right now I currently have 6 people that have pulled ballots and pulled papers to go on the ballot, including myself. One of them has already dropped out. She basically pulled papers and then like 2 days later decided she wasn't gonna run. But the other people who are running, I've got Etel Hassiage, Steve Quist, and Gregory Stratman, who have all made like public overtures about being out and actively collecting signatures that I've seen. There's also Wayne Griffin, who is a former city councilor from last on the city council in 1997, who pulled papers that I'm not sure where he falls because I haven't seen much about him. But that's what I'm currently facing for the preliminary election in September.
Mish.
Yeah.
Hey, Mish.
Hey.
Again, that's the
cosplay.
Nice. Yeah.
Yes.
That's from my Twitch. That's for my Twitch followers. Shout out to Twitch. You guys are awesome. You guys rock. Just as an FYI, you guys rock. All right. So obviously, I don't know what's going on with my chat systems on this one. This is like really weird, but we're gonna work it out anyways. So folks in the chat, if you guys want to post any kind of questions you have for Yenni, please do so. And if you have any concerns, or even if there's anything you guys want to do, we do have her links posted in the description box below. So if you come over to the YouTube channel, her donation page is the link to her donation page is in the description box below. Also, her volunteer section, her volunteer page. That link is listed down below, so you guys can stay plugged in and help out at your leisure whenever you can. All the help helps. Yeah. Any help helps.
I have stuff for pretty much any amount of time, any amount of skill level. If you've got 10 to 20 minutes, even, I have tasks that you can do. So I'm happy to have anyone on as volunteers that we can use. So
Nice.
And can people from anywhere volunteer?
Anywhere.
Okay.
The only thing that's limited for me is donations. Donations have to come from citizens, and it's a maximum of $1,000 per calendar year. So.
And it's citizens of your district, right?
Of the United States.
Oh.
Yeah. Some of the town councils in other states I've heard allow people that are just any resident as well as any citizen. So I make that distinction, but yeah.
Okay.
So you have to
It's unfortunate.
Yes. In order for you guys to donate, you have to be a U.S. citizen. You know, we won't leave it at that. U.S. citizen equals yes, you could donate. Not U.S. citizen, you can't donate.
But you can volunteer.
You can volunteer.
Yes.
So anybody can volunteer. So just in case, if you can't donate, you can still volunteer. Boom.
One of the statistics I got from during last presidential cycle was that every door knocked is worth $127.
Oh.
Oh wow.
So in terms of like volunteer to donation benefit, obviously that ratio would be far different on a city council campaign, because when I'm doing my outreach, when I'm sending out mailers, $1 is one door. So I can send a mailer out pretty much 1 for 1 to people. And right now I need to convince only about 3,000 to 4,000 people to vote for me, and I'd get in. So it's a very, very achievable race. The Yang Gang has a lot of strong, powerful force behind us. Gotta use the force.
Yes, of course.
And I really hope that a lot of
President
it
Manny
can come join me. Hey, Manny. We met. I think Manny and I met up in New Hampshire. During the campaign. Yeah. If I remember right.
Yes, nice.
I was up there the last weekend.
Wow, nice.
You were up in New Hampshire last weekend?
The last weekend of Yang's campaign, yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you're referring to the New Year celebration.
Oh, it was it was at the Yang Gang celebration. Yes. Yes.
I do remember there wasn't. Yeah, okay. I remember I couldn't make that, but there was something. I think it was on the leap day, right?
Yeah.
February 20th. Yeah. That was my birthday weekend. But it's all good.
Well, you missed a COVID scare.
Yeah.
One of the attendees was exposed during the one of the outbreaks in Boston. So yeah, it ended up there was no case of it from the event. But
That's good.
Okay.
That's really good.
It was a oh crap, because it was like so early on and everything that no one knew anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like a panic moment. But yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, I feel that even now, if you were somewhere and you hear that somebody got COVID, you'd still get scared. Like, you'll be scared, but you have more knowledge about it. Yeah, but it's still scary.
You already know.
We were trying to figure out a name for me to put mine on, because Rondo Calrissian, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Princess L. I couldn't.
So, chat, here's a challenge for you guys. Put down what Yenni should change her name to be in commemoration of May the 4th, aka May the Force be with you. So, if you can drop that down in the chat what her name should be, that'd be awesome. I'll give you guys 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, go. So, while the chat is doing their thing, what are some things that you want to do for the city of Worcester? Am I pronouncing that right?
Worcester.
Worcester.
There's no H in the middle.
Worcester.
Worcester.
Like you're going W-U-H. And then stir.
What?
Worcester.
Worcester.
Sure.
Worcester.
It's like Buster, but with a W.
Worcester.
I'm done. I'm about to butcher the city. I'm about to butcher the city's name. Charge it to my head and not my heart.
No problem. You could also use the nickname. It's an unfortunate one. The Woo.
The whoop.
The Woo.
That's what the city's nickname is. Apparently.
Whoop. Okay.
That was not a thing when I first moved here 8 years ago. No one called it the Woo back then.
Oh,
And then there was this whole marketing thing that happened. And it became a thing.
Hey.
And longtime residents are not sure how they feel about this. It's awkward. But
Hey.
one of the major things that
that. I did not know that.
Yeah. I mean, kind of like how that Woo thing came in. A lot of things just keep sliding in through the city council that the citizens of and residents of Worcester are not getting a say in. We had an issue come up, 2 in my district. Well, one's like a block outside of my district, close enough. That the parks had things that came through the city council that came to a separate thing and got slid in under the radar. One of them is Lakeside Ave Apartments, which is a public housing complex, has a beach that is literally outside of its gate. The city, the housing authority here has locked that gate and does not allow them access to that beach. It's a closed beach. It's been closed for 20 years, but they've never done anything to decommission it before. And the only reason it's unsafe is because they haven't upkept it. And it could easily have been repaired. But that close off is also blocking them off from the brand new playground that was built for the residents in that neighborhood and in that area. There's a gate that is locked that is stopping it from being a 1-minute walk for those kids to being a 10-minute walk along a major road with no sidewalk. And that just kind of went in under the radar and is happening because they are putting in a boardwalk and taking away that beach. I am not going to get on the city council in time to fix that. And it's a damn shame that I won't. But the issue there is not necessarily that they're putting in a boardwalk. Cool. Totally could put in a boardwalk and not get rid of the beach based on the plan designs that are on there in terms of the ground space. They need to convert the beach into wetlands to be able to do the boardwalk due to ecological concerns. But they did not explore. I personally don't feel like they explored enough of the other alternatives to not getting. But when they went to talk to the residents in that area about it, it was listed as a improvements to Coe's Pond meeting and mentioned a boardwalk, but it didn't say anything about the removal of Benenda Beach or of Hillside Beach. And it was on a tiny little piece of paper cut out from a full sheet that had an 82 character URL and was only printed in English.
What?
That is not community engagement. That is not community involvement. It is not. It's not okay. At all. And so that kind of got slid in under the same things happening with Duffy Field. Right now, we're in the middle of our high school getting rebuilt here. There's currently a lawsuit against the high school being built on site because of the fact that it is against the laws that allowed the city to gain that park. And that land for the school has never been properly reallocated to not being park land. So technically, them building it on that site is against the law. It is against the laws and rules of how they obtained that property. But inside the whole rebuild plan, is a page, like 100 and something pages in, that talks about the new field that they're going to put in at Duffy Park. They want to turf over our neighborhood park, pushing backwards into wetlands, cutting down trees to put in a turf field with lights in a neighborhood that doesn't want it. And similarly, they set up this council. Sorry, go ahead.
Turf field lights, is that like those lights on like baseball fields and stuff like that? Wow.
And similarly, they set up this council.
That's a little intense.
Sorry, go ahead. Am I getting feedback?
I don't know. Is somebody's YouTube on? Because it's like a little.
Hold on, that's me. That's me.
Okay.
Oh, I like Poe.
I don't know enough about Star Wars.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Like I just know probably
Oh,
as much as
that
you
works.
can.
Now I'm off theme. Thanks, Manny.
Hey.
I like Poe. So you were about to say something, Elle.
Oh no, I just want to know what the you said field lights, right? I just wanted to make sure what they were. It's like from baseball fields, like those bright lights.
So it's lights that enable it to be able to be used in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
It is the space currently fits a baseball diamond. It is not the length for a rectangular field. And the issue there is our neighborhood already has a ridiculous amount of flooding problems and settling problems because we're on top of a peat bog. Like no matter what you do, it's gonna have. I'm in Worcester, Massachusetts. I'm running for city council in District 5. So the ecological impact that putting in a turf field in this location will have is going to cause ripple effect problems that I do not think that they are properly taking into account in terms of this project. But they've set up a committee that they've invited the Save Duffy Field people to. But we have no shot in it not happening. There's literally no way because it's already been approved because it's part of the school's rebuild. Even though it's in a completely unrelated park that was deeded to the city as parkland to remain parkland, not athletic facility. It's a lot of procedural stuff that has huge impacts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when the city does come out and say like, oh, but we listened to people, they talk about talking to the Chamber of Commerce members and they talk about talking to the neighborhood associations.
Mm-hmm.
The neighborhood associations are great. I love the people that I am involved with in mine. The people that I've met that go to the others are fantastic, great people. But finding out how to get to them is nearly impossible. The city's website has listings occasionally for them happening. There's no way to contact someone for a link to join, especially since now that we're in COVID times and we're not meeting in person. So they're not representative of the people who live there. They're just representative of the people who are in the know enough to know that there's a neighborhood association and know somebody in it to be able to get access to it. When I tried to get access for to go to the other ones in my district, because I'm running for city council, so I want to know what's going on in them. Finding out how to get into them was pulling teeth. Even the police officer assigned to mine couldn't get the information for me on all of them. So using the Chamber of Commerce, which a lot of businesses do not become a part of because of either the cost or the benefit analysis, whatever they have, they don't join it. A lot of people who are LGBT or people of color don't join it because they end up feeling ostracized when they're there. I know personally, I was extremely uncomfortable at a number of the events while I was attending them in person. And using those two groups as the litmus test for whether or not a community is accepting of something isn't acceptable in my book. It's not community engagement. the big thing that I can point to there is they had a community survey that they considered a success at 600 responses in a city of 190,000 people.
They considered how many?
600.
That's
a shame. That is a shame.
I think that's 1%.
It's a representation issue. Right to repair actually came up this past year, this past cycle. So yeah, but that was already. I'm sure that it's probably going to come up again. So for anyone who doesn't know, right to repair is basically saying that you have the right to choose a mechanic, that you do not have to go to a dealership to get your vehicle repaired. So they wanted to repeal that, and that got knocked down in the 2020 election.
I didn't even know that was a law. That's so
the things that we have laws on.
Right to repair.
Hey,
that's such a patriotic name for. So was it always the case that people could get their cars fixed at mechanics, but then they were trying to a law?
It wasn't, and then now it is. I don't remember when that change was made. It was before I moved to Massachusetts, I think.
Wow.
Pretty sure. Yeah. But the dealerships are on the you must use us side of things, and the mechanics are on the you're putting an entire industry out of work kind of side of things. Like, it doesn't really make sense to me why to remove that, but it's gonna come up again.
Yeah.
Just like ranked choice voting is gonna come up again. We had ranked choice voting on the ballot last cycle, and it was the first time it came up for a vote, and it got 46%. So that was really, really nice.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That's really.
Oh no! This past year, it was not the right to repair. It was being able to. Oh crud! I lost it again. Oh, it was the giving mechanics access to the internal computers for diagnostics. That's what it was.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
So that was you're going to be giving away your personal data, but it's literally you have to give that individual person permission. Like, you're not giving away personal data. It's your car's diagnostics. It was a complete scare system.
Right.
All scare tactics. And that's what happened with ranked choice voting as well. We didn't get it because scare tactics. There was the governor came out against it, and pretty late. And then a number of other things jumped on, saying that it's going to cause who's going to know who to vote for, because you're not going to be able to research everybody. Good on you to think people actually research their votes. First off. But second, we're not going to suddenly get 100-something candidates. It's not going to happen. People don't want to run.
Right, exactly.
So it was a lot of scare tactics that pushed against it. And I really, really think that if it comes up again, we'll have a really, really good shot at it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would have been best.
Yep.
Wow. That's crazy that stuff like that is happening in Massachusetts. But then again, it just goes to show that if it's happening in Massachusetts, there's no telling what's happening in other states. And so this is why we say, hey, get involved in local politics, get involved in politics in general, because you don't know what's going on in your area. And oftentimes you might get sniped by a policy that you didn't know about that happened, and because you didn't do your research about it. Now I was like, well, what was this all about? How come we got this going on? I was like, well, they've been advertised. You should have been digging in and seeing what's really going on. You know, always go behind the scenes and pull back the curtain, because the actual person that's controlling the wizard ain't nobody really that powerful to begin with. You know,
people in government are people. They're human beings, just like celebrities are human beings. They're not people to be worshipped or anything like that. Like everyone has biases. Everyone has things that they pull into their wants and needs for their role of something.
Right.
And it's
yeah.
Democrats versus Republicans. Yes. It's always.
Yeah. I feel like that's going to be the case until ranked choice voting, or unless you're running in a really, really small town, or if you're running unopposed and you run as an independent or something else.
So right now I'm running against 3 other Democrats, but it is a nonpartisan seat. So if a Republican were to enter the race, they would be in the same preliminary election as I am. It's a really interesting way to run things. It kind of reminds me of jungle primaries, like what Louisiana has for Senate, where everyone's running together and then the 2 go to the general or something like that.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I prefer that. Oh,
What they call it? Jungle primary. That sounds so.
I didn't plug it in. Sorry, 1 second.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It is okay. Oh man. You know, it's funny because I know talking with the ranked choice voting chapter here in Michigan, it's like it's a really strong push for it. And I know a lot of times it'll help with people who haven't like ran before to be able to run, you know, and especially with ranked choice voting. Now it's like, okay, I'm not stuck between no. Toby, use the force. Use the force, Toby.
One day
because the force is within you. Oh man, this is great. Yeah, and I feel as though with ranked choice voting, that'll help a lot. It'll open up a bunch of barriers, and actually not just even open them up, just tear them down to begin with. And just like that, bam.
Welcome back.
Yay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. That is cool. So, Yenni, what do you have any policies that you're running on?
Yes. So one of the the 2 major aspects of it are transportation and accessibility. Transportation, being able to walk, ride a bike, drive, take a bus, whatever you need to, whatever mode of transit you need to get to places, you should be able to get to everything you need to get to within a 5-minute distance, 10-minute max. Personally, that's how I would love to see it. But the term is a 15-minute city, so you can get to everything you need to within 15 minutes, which I think is a little bit more reasonable in terms of like an actual goal.
Right.
But to do that, we have to fix our roads so that people can drive on them without their cars getting destroyed by all the potholes.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's really funny because I've actually gotten I have a friend that got pulled over for this. She was swerving to go around potholes and the police officer thought she was drunk. And that's just like, that's a thing here in Worcester. Like literally are they drunk or avoiding potholes on any road, even ones like we have Main Street downtown just got redone. Huge, beautiful, expensive project. and there's all sorts of things that are making people swerve around them again. Like, and that finished last year. So I don't know what specifically needs to be fixed in terms of like actually getting those to not happen as much. There was a thing that came up on the city council meeting last week about an infrared heating unit for while they're doing the sealing of the pavement. It'll help it bind better so that the patches don't break down and cause potholes again. So that'll be an interesting thing to see if they purchase with the transportation bill money. The other thing is the sidewalks. So most of our roads, if they have sidewalks, which is a big if, have roller coasters, not sidewalks. They go up and down and up and down and up. All the tree roots and everything from the old growth trees that haven't repaired in eons. I had a dog walking client that was on a road where I have to walk the dogs in the street because they were dachshunds and they couldn't traverse the sidewalk.
Right. Liz, right? Right. We can understand. We can relate to that. Oh, man. Yes.
So not only is that an issue for people that are just trying to get places, it's a huge issue for the disability community.
Right.
I personally have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a connective tissue disorder. So there are some days where I can literally be doing cartwheels, no problem, running around, jumping, handsprings, whatever. And then there are other days where I could literally be sitting still and my shoulder will dislocate.
What?
There are days where I have to use a walker, where I use a cane, I have a sling, I have all sorts of assistive devices sitting all around me right now. Like when my fingers decide to start doing a thing, I can put this ring on, which stops my finger from being able to do that.
Whoa. Okay.
Sorry for anyone who gets squicked by that. Apologies.
No.
I should have content warning that.
No. Disclaimers.
Like I have hitchhiker thumb.
Me too. I got that.
Oh, nice. And so basically the connective tissue is everything that holds the muscles and the bones and the ligaments and everything in place. And mine does not act appropriately. It just kind of lets things flop where they want to go. It doesn't control them very well.
Is this something you've had your whole life, or did it?
It is something that it's genetic. So now that I'm actually at this point still not technically diagnosed with it. I have had a very long, arduous journey with Ehlers-Danlos in terms of getting diagnosed with it. That could probably be a whole episode on my treatise against how the medical establishment treated me. But basically, I diagnosed myself, and then when I mentioned it to my doctors, they were like, "Oh, yeah, that does explain all of that." I'm like, why did I have to diagnose myself? But it's a rare-ish disease. So when doctors are hearing hoofbeats, they're taught to think horses, not zebras. So that's why on my Twitter handle, I have a zebra and a paw print. Paw prints are because that's my thing. I love animals. I used to own a pet care business, and so that's my little campaign emoji. And then the zebra is for those of us who are rare disease people. So it's a thing within the rare disease community to call ourselves zebras.
Okay.
Nice. That's an interesting concept. Interesting concept. I like that a lot. So other than
just how that affects stuff. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Look,
this is your show. This is pretty much we're here to help you out. So folks who don't know you, they can get to know you through this show.
So I have that problem that makes it hard for me to get around sometimes. There were days recently where I was concerned because John was going to have to go to work during the day because he goes into work 1 day a week-ish. It's like every 5 days, but it doesn't happen Mondays. John's my husband, sorry. And so he goes into the office 1 day every 5 days, but not counting Mondays. So it's a cycle. And the day that they were going to be doing street sweeping was a day that he was going to be at work and I was going to be home alone. The problem with this is that I have to be able to get quick enough from hearing the vehicles coming down my street to get to my car, get in my car and move my car before they ticket it and tow it.
Right.
If I then didn't want to have to wait the hour plus sometimes it takes in the car, I would have to park a ways away from my house and then walk back to my house and then walk back to my car. It ended up being that he was home the day that they did it, so I didn't have to have that problem this year. But that's this year. He's home because of COVID. And that's a major issue that faces people with disabilities, people who are elderly that can't walk very far. It's a major accessibility problem. Add into that the fact that a lot of the roads don't have sidewalks, and those that do are roller coasters and are dangerous and not wheelchair accessible. The roads themselves, in many cases, aren't wheelchair navigable because of how many potholes we have. So those issues are not just a everyday life annoyance for general population. It is a major barrier to existing the disability and elderly communities that doesn't take into account. Yeah. So they do signs here. They put the signs up about a week or so in advance. They say they only go up 2 or 3 days in advance, but they don't. And then sometimes those signs will not get stapled into the thing that they're being put on properly, and they'll fly away, so you have no idea if they've even done them. We had a major windstorm come through one year and blew out a whole street, and the whole street got ticketed.
Wow.
Yeah. Because they just didn't have. So we have a system called Alert Worcester. It's supposed to be a notification system for things that the city needs to tell you. They'll text me saying that my trash day is moving or not moving, that snow bans are happening or whatever. But they don't send a text message out saying that street sweeping is happening on your street today. Like that would be a little bit of a nice thing. So where I live, Craters. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Bicycles at least have generally like a little bit more space that they can go down into than a wheelchair, especially motorized ones. They don't tend to have all that much crap, what's the word? I'm horrible about cars. Clearance. They don't have much clearance. As much clearance as bikes do. Or cars. So yes.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And for anyone who doesn't know what your town or city council or select board does, a lot of it is the local tax dollars. Your property taxes are set by your city council, town council, select board, whatever. So that's like the huge thing that the city council manages is the budget. Our city has a week mayor system. So we have a city manager who is the full-time person managing and running the city. And our mayor is a part-time position, same thing with the city council role. Personally, it's going to be my full-time job. It should be a full-time job. We're the second largest city in New England. We need people who are dedicated and have the time to spend on the job to do it properly. So in terms of the potholes and sidewalks, there's like the whole tie together there. But then there's also in terms of transportation and accessibility, our bus system. So right now our buses all go down to the hub, which is in the center of town where all of the traffic is. And then go back out again and then go back in again. And there's nothing that connects them around. So if you want to go from here to here, and the bus line doesn't do this, you have to go all the way down to the hub and then back out again, which is not efficient. It makes no sense for somebody to choose that as a mode of transit. So as they decrease the amount of routes because they're seeing a decrease in ridership, it's just a race to the bottom. We need to give people a reason to go on it, not just expect that they're going to use it because it exists. And one of those cases where there could be a connection between two that there isn't, there's a bus line that goes through the northern part of my district and then down a little bit to the airport, which is like, if you're looking on a map, it's like over here. That's why I keep drawing like in front of my face. And then there's one that goes down along the middle-ish section of my district and then goes up towards the airport, but it doesn't quite make it to the airport. It makes it about half a mile from the airport when it would literally just be one more stop for it to go up there and come back down. And that would create an entire loop in that entire section of the city and enable people to navigate that whole section a lot better. Then there's the issue of the fact that our buses, when they do stop, are having to stop in places that are not wheelchair accessible. So even though some or most of our buses have the ability to have that ramp for buses to get up onto them, for wheelchairs to get on them, you can't get there because the sidewalks aren't set up in a way for them to be able to do so at the proper height for the buses. Gotcha. It's a lot of those things that kind of tie together into this one transportation and accessibility ball of mess that it needs to be unraveled and fixed.
I hear you. And it's funny you brought that up too, because a lot of the things that you're saying, it happened when I was living in Colorado Springs, you know, and especially when it came to the connectors, the connection from one route to a different route and whatnot. And they had to revamp the whole budget in order for it to make it accessible and to be able to accommodate the riders. Because again, like you're saying, what happened in your district, it was happening there, and the ridership went down. You know, and a lot of people were complaining, like, you know, hey, you know, I'm trying to get to the mall, but I live on the other side of town. And the only way for me to get there is if I have to hop on 3 different buses in order for me to get to the mall. You know, and mind you, that's not even trying to get to downtown whatsoever. You know, and so as they're trying to create things, what they did was do like what they call like a sprinter. And so it would be one route starts here, comes here, and before it gets to downtown, there would be another bus that connects like 3 different routes. And so it's almost kind of like a straight shot, and that's all it does. It does a straight shot. And then from there, they did a massive overhaul on, like you were saying about the potholes, they did a massive overhaul on like 4 of the most used streets, because again, people were swerving, missing potholes. They had like major car repairs because the potholes, they would get fixed, but you know, give a good rainstorm, that pothole grew twice as large. So it's like, what are you guys doing with the money? What are you guys doing with the budget? And they're like, okay, if we're going to do this right, we got to shut down the street, or at least navigate it to the point where we can actually get it done. You know, it took them like 3 years, but it got it done, you know, but it was well worth it. And even then, you know, the city of Grand Rapids, where I'm from, you know, they had a major issue as well, where it's like one bus route, there would be 2 buses for one route, but depending on the peak hours, it will be a 30 to 45 minute wait from one bus to the next one. And they just did where, again, it's a sprint line. That's all it does. So if one bus shows up, like I say, at 2:15, and then the next one doesn't show up until like 2:45, 2:55, there's a sprinter that's going to come up like in that halfway point. So you're not, instead of waiting like 30, 45 minutes, you're kind of waiting like 10, 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still able to get to point A to point B. And so my suggestion—
that would be wonderful.
My suggestion to you is, or if you could bring it up, like have some kind of like sprinter route where it could, if it could connect 3 different routes, so that way people don't have that issue. And even so, would that help to increase the ridership?
Yeah, I definitely think it'll help increase the ridership to have more routes that go places in an efficient way. Like you're saying about how the sprint route you're talking about cut down time like half or less. There's a number of routes that we used to have that would do those kinds of connections, but they got cut. And right now, one of our colleges isn't on a bus route.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah. Wow.
Which college?
Assumption.
Oh, okay. I think I've heard of it.
Yep. It's like, why? Like why is a college not on one of our bus routes? The college has to operate their own shuttle to get to transport their students into town.
That's great.
I mean, like they're in the like suburby section of the city. A lot of the west side is suburby, but oh yeah.
I love it. There are no filters here.
No. I really wish there was less filters in politics.
Me too.
But people get too offended too easily sometimes on like really random wordings of things, and
yeah, it's like I agree. There are things that are very not like things that are relatively benign that are like maybe a bit unconventional. Of course, we have our main man Yang, and even other people where it's kind of like you say certain things, you're not like going Trump and like attacking, like being like a complete troll and jerk. So it's like, yeah, well, let's talk about things in the way that normal people talk. It doesn't always have to be super polished and super. And I mean, hey, that's a skill. People can speak in a certain way, but yeah, I agree.
It's exclusionary.
True.
Expecting that type of professionalism is exclusionary.
Wow, that's
No, I agree. There are some...
It's got built-in microaggression into into the whole system. It's just built in, and it's not okay.
No, but of course not. And what do you say?
No, I just never thought of it that way, but it's true, because like I don't know where it came from and why it sort of continued this way, but you have to speak a certain way, act a certain way, look a certain way, perform a certain way, go to certain schools, this and that, and it's not like that's necessarily correct. It's just that's just always happened. So
yeah, I mean, like my blue hair has gotten me so many comments like, isn't that going to affect how you run? Aren't you going to dye your hair? I'm like, no, my hair is blue because my hair wants to be blue. We tried to make it purple. It turned out blue. We tried to make it green. It turned out blue. This is with a professional hairstylist best friend of mine. Like she and I have gone through journeys with my hair. It wants to be blue. My hair is being blue. I want it to be blue. I'm not changing that just because politics says that I should have professional looking hair.
Whatever that means. I mean, my hair is not professional.
Yeah.
So, or Toby's hair is,
yeah,
they say is not professional. But I really don't think Toby's hair has stopped him from coding at all.
Come on, Toby. Look at that hang time. Look at the hang time, Toby.
I'm in the full length. but that's a whole other conversation to talk about. And I'm glad. That is a really interesting thing. Is like, what is the archetype or stereotype of what it means to be.
A lot of them got blue hair, like blue.
Gotta have blue hair. Anyone who gets that gets bonus points. Gotta have blue hair. Anyone?
No.
Homestar Runner.
I see it on Urban Dictionary. Someone who likes anime and dyes their hair on natural colors, such as blue.
Mm-hmm.
And end up looking like an anime protagonist. Gotcha.
Yep.
Hilarious.
Yay! Mish got it. I was figuring with cosplay in your name, you would probably get that one.
Hey, kudos to Mish.
Yeah.
Kudos to Mish, because nah.
Yeah. So Homestar Runner was a old website from the early 2000s. It still exists. Go look it up. The stuff is amazing. Strong Bad, fantastic. Do you know Trogdor?
No.
No? Okay. Look up Trogdor. That's the best intro to Strong Bad and Homestar Runner.
There was a recent
Trogdor.
There was a recent Reddit post about people of the early internet. What were the your acronyms or things like that, and one of them was like parent behind my shoulder or something, and it was PM something.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, from the early 2000s. So you have to so your friends.
I think it was PBMP or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was someone behind my back or something. So
I could go into the whole Trogdor thing, Mish. That's a thing. So I went to school for video game design and development. And so I went in originally for art. I did 3D art. And one of our projects was an animation for our 3D class. And I did Trogdor burninating a town. You can I think actually you might still be able to see something from it on my DeviantArt. It's Yenni Chan.
Oh, DeviantArt.
I'm also on Twitch, Yenni Desroches, or Yenni for Council. I don't remember which. So I stream on there on Saturdays with my address. So if you want to say hi, I'm there too.
That's a good way to reach younger people or just different demographics.
Yeah, I'm on Discord. So I figured out a way to get my URL to link to my profile on Discord, and that link is also on my website.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm the youngest candidate running in the race, and I would also be the first female to represent my district.
Oh,
nice.
Wow.
Okay, Yenni, I see you out here, big boss in it. Go for it.
Oh yeah.
Go for it. Shoot your shots. Yes.
Yeah, it just goes to show, I don't know. I just think that's insane. That you'll be the first female, and this is 2021. So It's just men this whole time. Just
all white men.
Wow, that says.
I mean, I'm white too, so that diversity aspect is not coming into play for me. I'm 100% Southern Italian, but
no,
but even still,
I know. Still, it's still a certain, I don't know, sameness to it when it's just. No offense, white men who are watching.
Yeah. I missed Misha's funny about. Yes. Oh, yeah, I missed that comment from Mish earlier about the left versus right thing. I don't know if you want to back up on screen, but yeah, there's a lot that I think the Yang Gang has this weird microcosm of both that is falling apart. And it's really sad seeing it fall apart. That dialogue that we were able to have across party lines during the campaign is completely broken down. And And it's really sad to see friends turning on friends on that.
Agreed.
No, for sure.
Definitely agreed on that one.
I mean, my family's Republican. My family are Trump supporters. I have family members who said that we need to listen to the people who were at the Capitol protest and make sure that their needs are heard and dealt with as well.
Agreed.
Yeah, there's no reason to call the insurrection a protest. There's no reason for us to negotiate with domestic terrorists.
I agree. I feel like we do have to draw a line with certain things where it's just like, yeah, no.
Yep. Welcome to America.
And I have a few questions that I was thinking of that kind of stemmed from this conversation.
I have a quick question, and you can answer it however you want. I don't want to, because you said that you're the youngest. Like, what would you say is your age range? You don't have to say.
I'm 33.
Okay.
Yep. I have no problem saying it. Age is a number. My grandmother is 84, I think.
Okay.
She's 16. She's 16. She's always 16. No matter what birthday it is, she's 16. So I feel that in my heart. I do not feel more than like 28 personally on some days, and then some days I'm like, wow, I'm like 60 because of my physical health issues. But
right.
But the age it used to be a reflection of experience because there was not as much of a way to gain experience other than time and living it. Now we have so much happening so quickly and so many different ways to learn and experience things from different people, that experience is happening faster and in different ways and at different times for different people. So somebody could be completely inexperienced in a topic and then get experienced in it in a year, even if they're like in their 60s. Or that person could be 16 years old and building the same thing and having the same experience level. So age doesn't really play into that as much as it used to, I don't think.
Oh, for sure.
Demographics wise here, it's about 50-50. We're pretty even, slightly more onto the female side, depending on what demographics you're looking at, because the census data is 10 years out of date until they release this year's.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've had a major change in population since 2010. So I don't tend to look at the 2010 census data as reflective of Worcester anymore. We've had a major renaissance happen. We've got a massive amount of infrastructure projects that happened, building developments. We've got new apartment complexes that are huge. Now, Toby, I know you're out towards the Boston area, so you're probably going to say, oh, okay, that's reasonable. We've got a studio apartment that's 900 and something square feet that is $1,800 a month.
Okay, no. I mean, I know that like I might be closer to Boston and it's expensive like that, but I would not want something like that in my current area. I saw a studio for like $1,400, and I was like, this is ridiculous. But granted, that's a huge studio. That's almost as big as my last apartment, and I had like my giant fridge in that apartment. That was like 960 square. A studio for 900. What even is that? Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Why is it a studio? There's so much space.
Yeah, that's true. 960.
But like,
there's a lot of space.
What's weird about that though is this is development that was put in right next to the train station that's got the commuter rail to Boston.
Oh, okay.
So people are paying for the convenience factor of commuting out of Worcester. So the prices that are pushing them out of Boston are pushing them into Worcester. But there's absolutely no reason aside from the fact that it's developers from out of state. They're developers from New Jersey. I absolutely love the fact that developers are coming here and building here and doing all of this stuff. But do we really need to cause major inflation in rental prices by doing it? No. But Massachusetts doesn't allow us to do rent control. And as the unpopular opinion amongst landlords, because I do own property, I have 2 rental units, I am for rent control.
Yeah.
Unpopular opinion.
That's actually really good.
In that crowd, at least. But the my units, I've got a 3-bedroom, 1,300 square feet. That's $1,450 a month.
That's not bad.
Good. That's really good.
Why is a studio apartment that much more expensive, that much smaller, and doesn't even have a door to a bedroom?
That is beyond me. That's more than rape. I don't know what's higher than a rape, but that's exactly what it is. That's
Mm-hmm.
$1,800, man.
For
I don't think there's anything like that in
It's
South
sad.
Florida. I'm sure, like definitely like downtown. They'll probably have some apartments that are that much. I'm trying to think of studios though. I don't really know.
Like that's like an in Boston price.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I was gonna say 1,800. Definitely, that's a crazy price. And because Massachusetts, granted, Boston especially, is like the 3rd most expensive in the country. The 3rd most expensive rent in the country, right after New York City, and then San Fran after that. So Worcester, I mean, I don't know exactly how it ranks, but I figure like everything within like an hour of Boston gets like that effect of just like getting prices shoved up. This is interesting. What is this? You can get apartments that classify as luxury.
That's crazy. It's okay. It's okay. It is okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
So like with that, it's like this weird. Yeah. I don't know. Do you have any other questions that you wanted to like ask? I kind of like been rambling our way through a conversation, but I didn't know if there was any specific points you wanted to hit.
I did have a few.
Go ahead, Toby.
Because I remember you mentioned something about population dynamics, and well, one thing I think had to do with demographics, political demographics.
Mm-hmm.
And that if I don't know exactly what the voting political record of Worcester is, but if you've kind of found these like cross collaborative, like people who may have, like for instance, you mentioned your family, a bunch of them who voted for Trump, and I wasn't sure if you've kind of seen that dynamic of people who have been registered Republican or Trump voters, but then have like taken interest in your campaign.
Yeah,
I know like other people who have had that, like other people, whether in the Yang Gang or outside, who were Dems running for local office, and they've seen that kind of dynamic where it's like I voted for Trump in 2016 or even voting for 2020, but they're still interested in the campaign and supporting.
Yeah, so I have a couple of people that did indeed provide support to me. They signed my nomination forms. A couple of them donated, that are local Republican or Republican leaning people that are very much Trump fans and still are, who've stated so openly and plainly to me that you are the only Democrat that I've ever supported this way and stuff like that. So yeah, there's definitely ways that that people that are across the aisle can get involved in my campaign. I open it and I'm open to it and welcome to it. It is difficult for me to see that division, especially coming down to a city council level. Almost nothing of what we do is party politics. We set tax rates, we set the budget, we make sure the streets are clean and well maintained, or at least they're supposed to. Stuff like that, like making sure that the Conservation Commission manages like to not get wetlands and stuff destroyed or encroached upon, killing our water supply. And it's management-y stuff. It's not, we're not making laws about things like abortion or LGBT rights or anything like that. So yeah.
You guys could also, like, I guess, be dealing with like the budget for schools and libraries and public facilities like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so ours is set up so the school committee sets their budget and it comes to the city council for approval pretty much. We don't really get a say in like the items and what they prioritize, but we can vote on things in the city council meeting to send them to the school committee. So if there was something that we wanted as the city council to push the school committee to do, we could say, hey, we want more, I'll give a recent example. They just pulled school resource officers, police officers out of schools. So that went through the city council to remove that because it has to do with the police department. But it's also something that has to then get sent to the school committee. What do you want to do with the rest of that budget? So for each police officer that they replace, they're able to get two mental health professionals for each of the police officers that they removed.
Oh, nice.
It's nice that they're able to add that much more. It's sad the value we place on the police officer in the school versus the mental health social support social worker in the school. The amount we're paying for those two different roles.
For sure. Yeah.
That's an interesting conversation. You could even say segue because one thing that does become very local, even though like, you know, it is also hyper national, but it is hyper local, is the whole police conversation with police budgets. And this is a position, right, where you would have access, because you mentioned school resource officers specifically. But with the overall conversation of like the Worcester Police Department, how have people talked about reforming the police, better training? Of course, the big fiery one is the defunding the police. That's been kind of like a nationwide thing of, hey, let's allocate this amount billion. I mean, I don't know what the budget for Worcester looks like, so maybe that number is like way too big, but like let's take $1 billion and take it out of the department and put it towards services like the mental health, like homelessness or whatever. I'm curious what the either the current members on the board have been saying about that, what also sort of the community members and just residents of your district and maybe other parts of Worcester have been saying about how do we feel about police budgets and the way police in the community is, and what kind of like dynamics are going on with that.
Yeah. So the budget right now does not have the space for that size of a number. But it, I'm sorry, my brain just
Take your time.
partially rebooting.
Take your time.
It has been a long day. We have space in the budget for changes like that.
Mm-hmm.
It just takes the will to do it. And right now the makeup of the city council isn't going to push that way.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, in order for change to actually happen, we need to light a match underneath their butts and tell them, hey, your butt's on fire. And if you don't do something, you're going to burn. Instead of saying, oh, smells like a barbecue's going on. Who's ready to eat? Like, dude, you're cooking right now. Like, come on. And again, I get your sentiments because even in the city that I live in, it's like that. It's like, dude, I read the budget for this year, and like the sheriff's department, they're already getting like two 2021 new SUVs. Like, for what? For what? You already have a bunch of new ones as it is. Why do you need more? And they're like, the grand total is like $90,000. Like, how come we can't use that $90,000 to build a rehab center that actually works? How come we can't use that money to, I don't know, tear down the abandoned hospital and make an amphitheater there? Or how come we can't put that $90,000 into making a homeless shelter and keep people off the streets, give them a place to stay, give them some decent food for them to eat, and give them the resource they need to get back on their feet? Like, we're doing all of this, but we're not taking care of the issues at home.
Yep. Or
is it the fact that by exposing the fact that we have an issue, then that means we got to do something to solve it? It's like, come on, get with the program, get with the program. Oh, that irritates me so much.
There's a couple of things out of what you just said. But one of them was the, oh my goodness, my brain tonight. I'm sorry. I got like next to no sleep for the past few nights. So,
life of a person running.
Yeah. So that that 90,000 could be spent on something else aspect. I think that you'll understand the issue with what the city decided to purchase as soon as I state what it is. It is a police item that we have a program called ShotSpotter Connect that the city is implementing, which will attach to our ShotSpotter Flex program. So ShotSpotter Flex is a bullet detection, gunfire detection system that if it hears a gunshot, it'll alert. It has more false positives than positives by a significant margin. But I don't have a problem with it because it's a safety tool. It is something that has, in a couple of occasions, helped, and having it doesn't hurt.
No.
They are adding a program called ShotSpotter Connect. The ShotSpotter Corporation has given the city a additional space for ShotSpotter Flex, so we have more of the city getting covered by it. In return for being a early adopter trial test city for AI-driven predictive policing.
Wow. Okay.
AI-driven what policing?
Predictive policing.
Okay.
So we got Minority Report.
Yeah,
right.
I was gonna say I had to say I would know because, well, I guess you hear more details, but I'm not sure like where this is already going.
Yeah,
I will say something like Psychopaths. That was just me.
Both.
That was
I
me.
use both examples, but I've never watched Psychopaths. But yeah.
Yeah.
Watch it.
Here's the thing about predictive policing, like, because AI, when it comes to predicting anything, it's based off of the information and knowledge that we already know. Because AI isn't really making up new things per se. It's just using everything that we already knew in the past and bringing it to the present to making the best logical answer. So because our data is already so biased, it's most likely going to create some biased
and the company says that there is no bias in their programming because
they all say that.
Because they have Black programmers.
Oh,
I mean, yay, having Black program is like helps, but still, I don't know.
It's only as good as the data you put in, and the data that's being generated is not their control. It's our control, the police department's control. They also say that they're not going to take into account any arrests or calls or anything that happens from a police officer, only from the community. So that those community reports is, I think, what the term they used for them, would feed back into the system and tell police officers where they should patrol to be in a space where crime is more likely to happen. That sounds absolutely fantastic on paper.
Of course.
On paper.
Yes.
It is not something that we should be implementing now. AI is too new. It does not have the data to be put into it appropriately, because as police are in an area more and more, it's not going to end the crime. It is just either going to move it or hyper focus it and cause more problems. I don't think it's a solution for any city. I super duper do not think that we should have this as a trial. Worcester is not a test subject.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's part of why I'm running. It's just like all of these things that I'm seeing. I understand that they don't understand technology enough to understand why AI in that position is dangerous.
Right.
Because a few months ago, they referred to cell signal as Wi-Fi. I don't think that people, I honestly think that on a couple of them, it was just honest mistake, like term was getting used, so they ran with it kind of thing. But it's a lack of awareness of technology and what technology is going to be bringing down the line to us. Like right now, we have traffic light systems that are a mess, that every so often we have to have a study done and a traffic study and figure out that intersection, and it doesn't tie into the rest of the network. Let's get a smart system that'll manage that. We don't have the overhead of having to reanalyze every spot. It can do it on the fly. We have systems that we can put into place for a whole bunch of things that are technology driven, AI driven. It doesn't belong in the police.
Mm-hmm.
We already have enough issues related to trusting police. The police here, I personally have close, I consider a close relationship with the police officer that's in my neighborhood association. I think he's great. But there was one neighborhood watch meeting where he was wearing a shirt that said infidels.
What does that mean?
It's a I don't remember exactly where it ties into things, but it's a race related thing that he shouldn't have been wearing.
Wow.
I heard the term infidel in like Islam, where a non-believer, that's typically the usage I've heard, is that's what they call the non-believers, and it's like punishable by whatever. But I don't know. I don't know the connection of why it's
maybe it wasn't
people.
Maybe it wasn't infidel. It was.
I don't know if they were trying to say,
I'm pretty sure it was
infidel.
Yeah, I took a photo of it.
It was an inappropriate shirt.
It wasn't inappropriate. But like.
But it showed bias.
Our police chief has actively stated that there is no bias in his police department. I'm pretty sure I don't need to tell the three of you how horrible that statement is.
Oh yeah, I mean,
there's bias in everything, but there's also police officers that are fantastic, that do their job the way they need to do it, but they're not being enabled to speak up the way they need to.
Yeah,
that part.
the risk that they have to put on themselves to speak up makes it very difficult for them to try and fix things from the inside. And that's like, we have not had major issues here in Worcester in terms of racial stuff. In terms of the stuff that I've been seeing in a lot of cities where there's been major protests and ongoing issue after issue after issue. We have issues. Not saying we don't, but they're not huge takeover media kind of issues.
Right.
Is the
we had
is Worcester like mainly white?
No, we are 40% foreign born.
Oh.
We are the highest population of refugees per capita in the state.
Wow.
And a lot of them are either Albanian or Ghanaian, some Syrian, and I mean, there's a whole lot of others as well. But with that ratio of people, we need to be careful, and we need to make sure that we're respecting everyone. And by saying that there's no bias in the police department it's just wrong.
That's a bold statement.
It's just wrong. Everyone has bias.
Right, exactly. Like there's this
I have bias. Everyone has bias. We need to be called out on that bias.
Right, especially when it's, huge and can, tear somebody's life apart. Like, call that out.
Right.
So I feel like what Worcester needs to do police-wise is not anything crazy. It just needs to acknowledge and heal. I think that one of the things that really needs to shift in Worcester in terms of what we focus on for the police officers, and I know that this is partially a state thing, we don't need police officers standing at construction sites directing traffic. There's no reason to have an armed police officer doing that. There's no reason to have an armed police officer doing traffic and doing meter maid ticketing. And that's what we have. And right now, they came out with the top 500 paid people in Worcester, like city people. And of the top, I think it was 50, it might have been 100. There was 8 women and like 12 people that weren't police officers.
Wow, so they're getting...
Some of our department heads were not on that top. I think it was top 50 that had those numbers, but yeah.
That's probably
it's overtime that pushes them into that for the most part.
True, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably why there's not too much, police violence, because they're getting paid so well. Get it?
I feel like they've done fantastic jobs on things. We had a might have been bomber a few weeks ago or last week.
Wow.
Yeah. Was standing out on one of the street corners, not all too far away from my in-laws. And they tried to talk him down for over an hour and a half. And they ended up not being able to, and he was getting so whatever that they ended up having to shoot him. And they killed him, but it was bomb threat level.
Yeah.
And it took them an hour and a half before they got to that point.
Right.
So they have training here that I think is pretty sufficient in terms of how to de-escalate things. It just needs to be applied properly. And there's always going to be problems. No matter what you do, when you put somebody in power over someone else, it's going to have problems. Happen. Oh, who's puppy?
Oh, those are mine. That's my security alarm. and lets me know who's at my door, who doesn't need to be there, especially at this time of night.
I have mine sleeping here next to me. Yours woke her up. Tara, Tara is usually my alarm dog. She is not a attack dog. She lets me know that someone's there, and then as she backs away, she continues barking and looking aggressive, but she's like bolting backwards, and occasionally she pees herself.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's like the two that I have.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tara. Did I disturb you?
It's especially my full-blooded pit bull. Like a lot of people are terrified of her. Like, no, she's the biggest lap dog that you'll ever meet. Like, if anything, she pretty much wants to lick your face off and then give it back to you and do it again because she loves you. She just wants to love you. It's like she's not scary at all. Matter of fact,
I love pitties.
Yeah, I mean she's here now. Like, hey,
the only thing they want to do is lick your face off.
Yes.
They don't want to eat your face. They want to lick your face.
Yes. They want to be big baby. And if she could, she'll probably want to climb on my lap and see what's going on.
So dogs are actually like a thing for me. I used to own a pet care business. I had to close it due to the pandemic.
Oh, so
yeah, so I had a small professional pet care business from 2014 to last March. And I had multiple employees over the course of the time that I owned it. And unfortunately, in March, when everything kind of closed down with the pandemic, my business was one of the ones that was a casualty of the pandemic.
Ouch.
I didn't see a way through to survive it. So I'm technically unemployed right now. I'm currently auditioning for my next job as city council member.
There you go.
So it is a very long job interview. That's what I'm viewing it as a very long job interview, because that's really kind of what it is. You got to convince people to select you.
Right.
Yes, agreed.
So you started your business when you were like 25, right?
No. Let's see, that was 8 years ago.
2014. Did I do my math?
2000. I think I was 28. I think I was 28 when I got married, and it was like a month before I got married that I opened the business.
Yeah, no, I'm doing my math wrong. Yeah,
it was also in between starting business. Then I had I'm getting feedback again. So I started my business in August. And had the Boston Festival of Indie Games, which happens at MIT each year. It's a weekend event that celebrates independent developers in both digital and board games. Awesome. It's a lot of fun. If you're in the area when it's happening, you should look it up. I was on the board of it for 4 years, and that was happening in the middle. That's my last year on the board. And then, like, a little bit after that, in October, was my wedding. That I was pulling that myself. And that also was the fall that Gamergate happened. Do any of you recognize the term?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was involved.
First time hearing it.
So Gamergate was a situation that started online and was basically a hi Kim. So the there were a bunch of people that didn't feel like women should be making games or playing games and started attacking us all.
What?
Yeah, we were getting attacked a lot.
I heard it sort of.
Wait, Mish, you know Fig?
What?
Are you in the Boston area, Mish?
He's in the Boston area. I'll let me speak for themselves, though.
Do I know Mish? Tell me. No, maybe. Okay.
I know Mish.
Okay. All right. Anyway, Most people who are not like out of here. Oh, awesome! Cool. We'll have to connect off here. Message me.
You also definitely.
So they started a whole thing related to this. It got way out of control. I got doxxed, which is my private information got put out publicly. It got to the point where we almost considered requesting a social security number change because my accounts are getting hacked that frequently. It was bad. There were a lot of women who had it worse.
Yeah, every woman who was like at least in the gaming community, like.
So we have one person who actually ran for Congress the past 2 cycles, Brianna Wu, who is in the Boston area, and she was on the board with me for Boston Festival Indie Games. And she ended up nearly, she had to leave her house. There were people that were coming to her house with guns. It was, yeah. There were people that had got swatted, which is when you put in a report to the police department that is of a severe enough level that they will immediately go over there with a SWAT team. And there is a woman who lost her infant due to that. He died. When the police ran in, they tossed in a smoke bomb. The smoke bomb landed in his crib.
Holy crap!
Yes.
So it was not. It was a bad time, and that was what I started my business in and got married, planning all of it all myself.
I didn't know Gamergate. I knew it was bad, but I never really looked into it because.
Yeah, the deep detailed stuff, because I was in there deep with the people who were the group of women who were the initial portion of the attack before it kind of spread out to all women. So it was bad. And it actually ruined Firefly for me a little bit, because Jane from Firefly, he was one of the people who was leading Gamergate. It made me sad. He's apologized since, but
I heard that it was like something with Polygon and Kotaku, like this one female gaming journalist. This is what I've heard. I don't know how true it is. I think with one of the guys from Polygon that he wrote a review about like this game created by a woman, but she also slept with the guy from Kotaku, and he did the same thing as well.
So she was dating somebody, broke up with them, and started seeing somebody else who was a game reporter. I don't remember where or any of that. But so the ex decided to attack her for having a relationship with someone who's a game reporter, leaked nudes of her, and started saying that she was only sleeping with him to get reviews. He never reviewed any of her games. There was no ethics in journalism issue here. That's what like the term became, was like ethics in journalism. It wasn't an ethics issue. It was just
like somebody being petty.
People being horrible.
So it was originally a few people, like it was that ex that started it, and then other people latched onto it without either just because they're horrible people.
It was a huge thing on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
It was a huge thing on Reddit. And yeah, I didn't really know what was going on, but
I'm sorry, my dog left the room. Sorry, Julia. Otherwise I would.
Yeah, my two, they're settled down, so yeah, they'll be all right for right now until further notice. So, Tara, I don't know where you at, but you're doing an awesome job laying down somewhere.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it was something related to Kotaku. I think he was a Kotaku journalist. I don't think he was Polygon. I think he was Kotaku. But it was a while ago. It was 2014. I don't remember enough from then to remember the details. I did, however, watch the SVU episode about Gamergate.
Yes, I saw that on X because whenever I saw SVU, it was always just randomly playing, and I do remember seeing that episode, if not all the way, at least most of it, and I saw how it ended, where it was kind of like, yeah, there was that standoff, and they quote unquote rescued her, but she kind of was like, they've won at this point. They've won.
It was terrifying to watch that episode because I had a speaking engagement at PAX coming up, PAX East.
What?
I was a panelist at PAX that following spring, and I've got friends who present at the Game Developers Conference regularly, women that have been attacked in the past, and that episode gave people ideas. There are things in like the end of that episode, specifically the whole end sequence, that was horrible. Absolutely horrible. There was absolutely no reason for them to present it in that way, allowing the people who are terrorizing women to win. Because yes, they saved her, but she was still terrorized, traumatized, and they still got the upper hand and did what they accomplished. Yeah. Yes, Mish, I had a panel where I was talking to people about going to school and getting into the game industry. And that was in 2015, I think. It was 2015. I remember having to fly in directly from GDC on the red eye to get there in time for my panel. But yeah, it was a really interesting experience being a panelist. It was a decent sized crowd too, because it was right around the time where everyone was like, "Oh, I can go to school for video game development." Ooh. I'm like, yes, you can. So I went into school for game art, went into game design, trialed game design, and technically graduated with game design, but I was a prototype user for the producer program. So that's the project management side of things for game development. And that's the part of the field that I wanted to go into. I left the game industry after about 3 years. There was one, I didn't want to leave Massachusetts, so I ran out of places to get hired. But because there's not many game studios here in Mass. The studio that I initially started working for out in Western Mass, they had a contract that they lost. They ended up having to lay off over half of the studio. The next couple of places that I went to were short-term contracts. Over the course of 3 years, I had 13 months of employment.
Wow.
And I couldn't live like that ongoing. So I got very depressed, didn't know what to do with life, decided to go back to doing stuff with pets, and loved it. It was amazing. And I follow my former employees' business on Instagram to see all of my old clients because I miss them. And he posts videos and I'm just like, I miss you. And just mentioning in chat, yes, I did. I designed the cover art for Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3.
What you did?
Okay, so that's just
that's true.
I was an intern at Atari in 2007. Yes, 2007, maybe. Yes, 7. and the entire graphics department quit. And I was the only person in the building who knew how to open up Photoshop. So, yeah.
Wait a minute. So wait a minute. We're talking to like a low key celeb, like for real, for real. Wow.
I didn't get technical credit for it or anything, and it was mostly just like making sure the alignments of stuff were right. It wasn't like I didn't do the art for it. The art was given to me. I aligned stuff and laid out stuff and made sure the typography was good. And
that's awesome.
That's still.
I think like me and my brother had that. Was it Dragon Ball Z Budokai or was it Tenchi Budokai? I think that was.
So it was Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3.
Okay.
Yep.
Even still. Like,
yeah.
The other ones that went through the studio at that time were Alone in the Dark, and I did some of the cover art editing on that. And
awesome.
Oh, I have a list somewhere. I did at least minor edits on, I think it was like 14 different covers. Most of them were like, nobody knows what this game is because it comes from CD Projekt Red and it's a port from Russia. But so that was it was a really fun experience. I was there like 2 days a week for a summer. So it was an unpaid internship in Manhattan. And I was providing critical things to them. I should have been paid. I was illegally an unpaid intern. I was not getting college credit for it even. But thank you. Yes, Alone in the Dark relaunch. Yep.
Wow.
So I have major issues with the fact that people don't pay their interns. In the game industry, it's not just interns that are abused, though. It's also contractors. In the same way that contractors are starting to get abused by a lot of other industries. I was hired as a contractor without realizing that I was hired as a contractor. I thought I was getting hired as an employee at my first studio. And I didn't have benefits. I didn't have taxes taken out of everything. I didn't know I didn't have taxes taken out of everything until I had to go pay my taxes. So I hadn't been setting aside stuff for it. Thankfully, I have family that pays attention to and helps me out with that kind of stuff. But that was my first job out of college, so it was kind of a like, oh, right, real world. But I was misclassified because I was providing work to the company in the way that they wanted, at the time that they wanted, in the process that they wanted. And I had to meet their specific intermediary deadlines, to have meetings and all of that stuff that comes with what usually you call an employee.
Mm-hmm.
With a contractor, you can't do those things. You cannot tell them how you want them to do the work. You cannot tell them when you want them to do the work. You can give them a deadline, but you cannot say you need to work from X hour to Y hour. And there's a lot of misuse of employee versus contractor in the game industry. Yeah.
Mm.
I just know that the game industry is just hard in general.
Yeah. I mean, it was that same studio. I got hired with the written offer of being the QA lead. I get there to start the job, and they've hired some guy in a place, and I'm now working under him.
So what the hell happened? Like, did they have?
I went with it because I didn't know any better. I was just out of college. It was my first job, the game industry. If you say something bad somewhere, you get blacklisted. Like, you're not gonna be able to find a job at all. So and that's why I also didn't do anything about the fact that I was wrongly classified as a contractor. It's bad.
Yeah, that sucks. That sucks if I was saying, and it's like people shouldn't mistreat other people, especially fresh out of college. It's like, give them a chance. They may shine a lot brighter than the folks that you already have on your team.
Yeah. So they said that it was because he had more experience than I did. He had 6 months of employment in a QA lab at a very, very large studio as a QA tester. I had 2 years of experience running a quality assurance testing lab for our projects, running over 200 students through over 40 games every semester.
So they essentially just hired him because he was a guy, and he probably just looked better or looked more professional for the position.
And they definitely were a dude shop. There was regularly, let's go over to the bar after dinner, and it would be a dive bar where every time one of us females would go with them, we would get looks. I only went once because it was just an uncomfortable place to be. So I couldn't take part in the camaraderie that the studio praised themselves for. I mean, at the same time though, I love the people that I worked with.
Right.
Like it was literally the best job I have had.
Okay. So
while there was all of this like more legal awkward issues of stuff, it was one of my favorite jobs. The experience that I had while I was there was just amazing. The personal growth that I had, yeah.
Okay. That's good. That's really good.
Right. Oh man. That part of that sucks, but then again, I mean, it helps you to be where you're at now. That's how I look at it. It helps you to be where you're at now. It grooms you to be where you're at now to make a positive difference in the city, the district that you're trying to represent. And so it's like, go for it. Go for it. Go for it. Make that change. Make that difference. Chat, before we had
one thing to comment to Julia. I see you said something about doing UX design. I very strongly recommend that you check out the ADA standards for typography and dyslexia-friendly design, colorblind-friendly design. It is a aspect of user experience that tends to get overlooked. And having that experience as something that you can display in a portfolio will put you above other people in terms of being able to get jobs, and also makes you a lot more inclusive. So just a cool recommendation there. I love UI and UX, so yeah.
Sweet. Nugget dropped. Boom.
So yeah. But yeah, a lot of my experience with the game dev side of things ties directly to city council, because I know how to manage projects. I know how to make sure that things happen on time and on budget. And our construction projects need that.
There you go.
We have a lot of over budget problems on stuff. So I think that my experience doing project management is definitely going to come in handy.
Oh yeah, definitely. And again, before we go, does anybody else have any questions, any comments for Yenni? Please do so now. We want to make sure she has some kind of rest, and to be able to tack on the adventures for tomorrow and everything else. So please list final questions, final thoughts, whatever the case may be.
While you're dropping those, I'm going to insert a plea for donations. I am currently fundraising. My campaign, the money that I raise goes directly out to voter contact. I am printing materials, and every single mailer I send out $1 per door, pretty much, is the amount. So if you want to donate or sign up to volunteer, my website, yenniforcouncil.com. If you do, if you go on there, there's a volunteer button, there's a donate button, so you can check out more information about me there. I am also very, very, very much in need of volunteers, especially people who like to write. I need to get more stuff up onto my website. I have the content in my head, but I'm not great at synthesizing it into a cohesive short package. I can make paragraphs upon paragraphs, but I'm not good at summarizing. So if you find that kind of work enjoyable, I could use your help. Very, 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 very much appreciate any time anyone has to give, even if you've only got 20 minutes and want to look up something for me. I've got a spreadsheet of businesses that I'm trying to track down contact information for. So you can do some Googling for 20 minutes for me, and that would be amazingly helpful. So I have volunteer opportunities for everybody. And I really hope to see some of y'all around my campaign.
Yes. And Nitro, again, if for anybody else is watching, the link to her donation page and the link to her volunteer
Nitro
page.
is Angelo.
Was that again?
Nitro is Angelo.
Hey, Angelo. Okay. So the links to the volunteer page and the donation page is in the description box below. Make sure you guys do what you got to do and help out wherever you can. If you can't donate, volunteer. If you can't volunteer, donate. If you can't do any of those things, just pass the word around. Spread the word, because you never know. You may pass the word to somebody else who could probably do one of those two things or both. You never know. Yes. What's up, dude?
And if you are on Twitter, I have a Twitter chat group that I will occasionally share a post to get extra likes or retweets on.
Yes.
So if you have no spoons, no time to give, but you're able to retweet or like something when you get notified about it, even that much would be helpful.
Yes.
So just message me.
Yes.
Yeah, I can add you to the group.
Yes. Pretty much all hands are on deck. When is your primary, or however it goes?
So the preliminary election is September 14th.
Of this year? Okay, so everybody, all hands on deck. Let's help Yenni win and push her on to the next level, because I mean, we got this year with Yang Gang running for elected offices, and then we got next year Yang Gang is running for elective offices. So pretty much help out wherever you can, and we're going to try to get some of those candidates on as well. So Yenni,
one of the big things I need volunteering right now, and I know it's the bane of the Yang Gang, is phone banking.
Yeah.
So what I'm currently phone banking for is to let the residents of Worcester know that I am hosting listening sessions. So all you are doing is inviting them to an event. Most of it is just leaving voicemails. The occasional personal pickup, and it's just a soft invite to attend a listening event, because I want to hear from residents about what matters to them and make sure I incorporate what my future constituents want. So it's a very easy in for phone banking. It is, I personally, I maybe put in 6 hours of phone banking during the campaign. I hate being on the phone. But even this is like, it's a low enough ask that I'm making of somebody that I don't have that anxiety build up personally. So if you are not sure about how you feel about phone banking, it is a very low entry risk level to doing phone banks. So I would very much appreciate your help getting people to my events.
Sweet.
Okay.
Sweet. If there's anything else anybody wants to add before we head off.
curious, Ender, where you were from, because you mentioned something about the town that you were in and the population.
Oh, me?
No, Ender Buckley.
Oh.
Tyler.
Answer the phone for a living. Oof. Ouch. I worked, my first like job was phones for a pizza shop. I literally would just stand there answering the phone all evening. I can't imagine.
Across from Yorktown.
That sounds painful. No wonder you don't
Yorktown.
like
Which Yorktown?
I don't blame you.
The question's which Yorktown, because I had a Yorktown that I grew up right near in New York. I'm originally from about 45 minutes north of Manhattan.
Okay. Oh, wait, 45 minutes north, because I lived in not quite that. Well, I lived further up, in Troy, so that's like 2.5 hours. And I knew Poughkeepsie, which was further than where you are. Newburgh.
I was about 5 to 10 minute drive from White Plains.
Okay, yeah.
So that's like the biggest city in Westchester County where I was.
Yeah.
Well, at least the biggest in the northern end. Yonkers is in the southern end. Is bigger, but Yonkers is kind of like New York City light.
That's what I've heard.
I was born in Yonkers, so my grandparents lived there for most of my life. So
Nice.
I need phone banking parties. Yes. So every day from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. Eastern, I have a time slot, but I'm currently figuring out a better way to handle that. I basically just haven't hosted them this week because I haven't had anyone interested in attending. But if you're interested, I'm happy to set up a time that works for you. Whatever you want. My best times calling wise have been recently on Saturdays from 4:30 to 7. That's the phone banking party that I've been like actually regularly hosting. So if you're available 4:30 to 7:30 on Saturday evening, Eastern time, I would be happy to have you on there too. I've got a Slack if you want to join us on there. Just fill out the little volunteer info form on the website. It's very, very short. And I'll get in touch with you and get you set up.
Sweet. That works. For real, that works because again, all hands on deck and whatever you can do, go for it, do it, help out whatever you can. And let's just have fun at the end of the day. Let's just have fun, And okay, sweet. If nothing further, again, thank you, Yenni, for just taking time out of your schedule and just sitting around and just talking with us. And we are going to root for you as much as we can and push for you and all that other good stuff. And Yang Gang, y'all know what to do. Let's make it happen.
Yes.
And
donate, volunteer, retweet.
There you go. That's it. And repeat
all those things.
And repeat. So we will catch you guys next week. Same time, same channel, different topic. Who knows? Maybe a different guest. We don't know. But just stay tuned.
Having me.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Yes. What Ender said. Yang Gang love. Yep.
Thank you all. Love, much love. And see you in a week.
See you in a week.